everyone. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Rachel, your friendly neighborhood book nerd who loves nothing more than diving deep into the stories that make us laugh, cry, and sometimes scratch our heads in total confusion. Today, we're tackling a short story that's been lighting up my inbox and comments for weeks now, Cul-de-Saxon. This story has sparked so much discussion and honestly a bit of head-scratching among readers. A lot of you have said, Rachel, I just don't get it. What's going on here? Is this satire? Is it heartfelt? What's with all the quirky neighbors? So I knew I had to jump in, unpack it, and see what we can make of it together. In this video, we're going to break down Cul-de-Saxon piece by piece. We'll explore the vibrant characters, the layers of humor, the subtle and not so subtle social commentary, and figure out what's really at the heart of this story. Is it just a playful look at suburban life with a medieval twist? Or is there something deeper hidden under all those dad jokes and the neighborhood's oddball antics? Stick around because we're diving in, and trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Let's dive right into the story. We'll start with Chapter 1 of Cul-de-Saxon, and trust me, there's a lot to unpack here. Summary and analysis of Chapter 1. The story begins with Emily Trotters on her way to LAX, ready to leave behind her college life in California for a summer back home in Jacksonville, Florida. She's sitting in her friend Clara's car, and right off the bat, we get a vivid sense of the mood through the descriptions. The early morning sun poured like liquid gold over the Pacific, pooling in lazy cascades along the snaking roads that unraveled toward LAX. The imagery here is breathtaking, but there's also a subtle sense of Emily's reluctance to return home. The narrator describes the roads as seeming to sigh, reluctant yet resigned, which mirrors Emily's feelings perfectly. Her friend Clara brings some levity, teasing Emily about how long she'll last at home before butting heads with her family. You'll last a day before you start lecturing your dad about climate policy over the grill, Clara quips, highlighting Emily's passion for political causes and setting up a tension we'll see play out later. As they approach the airport, the chaos of the terminal is described in a way that feels almost cinematic. The scene outside took on the frenzied choreography of a beehive disturbed. It's busy and overwhelming, but the writing doesn't lose focus on Emily. Her internal struggle, her mix of nostalgia and trepidation, stands out even in these chaotic moments. Once she's on the plane, the narrative slows down to reflect her emotional state. Emily stares out the window, watching the California landscape recede. The narration gives us a tender glimpse into her mind. Though she would miss California, she knew that Florida, with its sprawling familiarity, had its own lessons to teach. It's clear Emily is preparing herself for an emotional journey, not just a geographical one. Chapter 1 sets up the core conflict: Emily's relationship with her family and her home. The writing is layered with tension and humor, like when Emily reflects on her dad, Jeff Trotters. Most problems could be solved with a handshake, a little sweat, and a well-cooked burger. Jeff's simplicity contrasts sharply with Emily's idealism, and this dynamic feels like it's going to drive much of the story. Then there's her mother, Marge, who embodies a suburban charm that's slightly performative. Marge's heart was in the right place, even if her actions were often tinged with a sheen of performative progressivism. This one sentence encapsulates Marge's character, a woman who means well but often misses the mark in Emily's eyes. And we can't forget Chet, Emily's brother. He's introduced as a towering, hyper-masculine figure with a love for obscure philosophy and weightlifting. Their dynamic is one of friction, but also begrudging affection. Despite his maddening ideology, Chet was family, the narrator tells us, hinting that their sibling bond will be tested but remain intact. The chapter ends with Emily's plane landing in Jacksonville, where she braces herself for what's to come. The imagery of her hometown is nostalgic yet layered with apprehension, the sprawling marshlands and clusters of rooftops tugging at the threads of memory. This sets the tone beautifully for the chapters ahead. Comprehensive analysis and my take on Chapter 1. Okay, let's talk about what all of this means. First off, the writing does a phenomenal job of grounding us in Emily's perspective. Her conflicted feelings about going home are relatable, especially for anyone who's left a hometown behind and struggled to reconcile the person they've become with the family and environment they came from. What stands out to me most is the contrast between Emily and her family. Her dad represents the unshakable, practical side of tradition, a man whose worldview seemed as fixed as the North Star. Meanwhile, her mom is all about appearances and social conventions, albeit with good intentions. Then there's Chet, who takes individualism to the extreme. Together, they symbolize the challenges Emily faces when trying to bridge her progressive ideals with her family's more conventional and sometimes exasperating worldviews. I also love how the narration balances humor with introspection. Lines like Clara's, "You'll last a day before you start lecturing your dad levity, but also reveal how well Emily's friends know her, and they prepare us for the inevitable family debates." At the same time, quieter moments like Emily's reflections during the flight give us a sense of her inner conflict. For me, this chapter sets the stage brilliantly. It's clear the story is going to explore not just family relationships, but also larger themes like generational divides, suburban culture, and even the clash between tradition and progress. Emily's journey feels deeply personal, but it's also universal in how it examines what it means to find your place within your family while staying true to yourself. All right, that's the introduction and chapter 1. What do you think so far? Are you rooting for Emily? Let me know in the comments if you relate to her journey, or if there's a character you're particularly intrigued by. Stay tuned, because in the next section, we'll meet the quirky neighbors and dive into the heart of Cul-de-Saxon. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already.